play against them, I'll be honest with you, they weren't the easiest people to deal with, and we had a few regrets about not doing it on our own label.
Really?
And yeah, I don't want to slag them off because I'm not bitter and twisted anymore. but no, we went through a difficult phase with them where we started recording what was our third album and second album with them. I don't think they were too happy with with the sales for Honeybee. They couldn't seem to get it released in America. I think we probably broke even. Like I say, it was cheap as chips to record, and we didn't lose them any money. But they kind of wanted to make sure that the third album was going to like really reap some kind of reward for them. And we worked with the producer. We recorded 3 or 4 tracks, and 3 or 4 songs, I should say. And he'd been given the brief, really, that the problem with Moose is that we tend to be a band that likes to over-egg the cake somewhat. There's a lot of layers of stuff, and perhaps if we went for something that was a bit more simple and direct, and not 9 guitar parts and 4 string parts and an organ and a bells and whistles and tubas and French horns, marching bands.
I can get you a couple of those cheap now.
Yes.
I do have one question about something from Honeybee. We talked a little bit about how, especially in that time frame, a lot of bands had B-sides that were just as good as the single tracks and the album tracks. I love the B-sides that I've been listening to from Moose. But what in the hell is going on in Welcome to the Mind of Mr. Breeders? What is Russell saying? And I don't understand a word of that song. It's such a bizarre song.
Oh, hang on a minute. It's in Spanish.
Is it?
Oh, do you know what? Or Greek. I'm not joking. We did a B-side where okay. One of that EP, the Liquid Makeup EP that we put out on our own label after being dropped, there was a B-side on that is either in Spanish or Greek. I cannot remember which. And then Welcome to the Mind of Mr. Breeders that's either in Spanish. One's in Greek, one's in Spanish. I just cannot, for the life of me, remember the song.
I'm going to take a wild stab here because I took Spanish for a while in high school, and one of the songs on Liquid Makeup is called Ramon.
Oh, okay. That's Spanish.
Okay, that would have been my guess. I think. But Welcome to the Mind of Mr. Breeders is just crazy.
I think. Oh God, this is a problem with not owning this stuff anymore.
So there's the 3 tracks on Liquid Makeup are "I Wanted to See You to See If I Wanted You."
Yeah.
There's a Place, and Ramon.
Ramon, yes. And at the end of Ramon, if you play Ramon right through to the end, you can hear a woman saying "rabid dog." Rabid dog, rabid dog.
I have to check that out because I couldn't find that. I was trying to find a lot of this stuff. I had to look up on YouTube and all because I don't have most of it, and I couldn't find. I don't think there was anybody had uploaded the Liquid Makeup EP.
The end of that song, Ramon, we didn't know how to end the song. We wanted something strange. And we were in the studio, and I don't know if you remember a band called Cranes, or the Cranes.
It sounds familiar.
Kind of gothy kind of band, but they were recording in the studio next door, and we asked if the girl, Alison, I think she is, if she'd just come in and just can you just say the words rabid dog about 10 times into the microphone? And she looked at us like we were taking the piss, but we weren't. We actually, and so that was the end of the song. A woman's voice just saying rabid dog.
Okay.
But I think Welcome to the Mind of Mr. Breeders is definitely, it's Spanish.
Okay.
Thing. I think the Ramon song is actually in Greek.
Wow. Because if I look up Moose Ramon, weird shit comes up on YouTube. I know it's two Mexican guys boxing, some old red-haired lady making tacos, and she's not Mexican. A SpongeBob thing on Minecraft shows up for some. I don't know what that has to do with. What is this shit? I don't know. I can't find Ramon on YouTube. I found the other two tracks, but
the problem when you look up Moose is there's a band called Moose Blood. There's another band called Moose in America. There's another band, a blues rock band called Moose, and I saw something recently. Oh no, not recently. It was a while back. Somebody sent it to me. It was this American band called Moose were doing a gig, and someone had emailed like some chat room thing, like a screenshot saying, "This is not the band from London. Don't go if you think it's them. They don't exist anymore."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The albums and the songs, music, everything seems to be getting more and more sophisticated as the band goes on, which to me is awesome. It's really, I hear a lot more growth from album to album than I do for a lot of bands.
Yeah, I think there was, and I think we really, really tried to kind of hone the songcraft to a certain extent, and also we don't like to repeat ourselves. So if there's a chord sequence in a song, in a particular song, I try never to use that chord sequence again.
Wow.
So I just try and go. I'll try and put different combinations together. Obviously, you run out of chords.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll only take you so far. But I try not to kind of. I don't want to belittle a group like Oasis because they've achieved remarkable things, but they've achieved remarkable things with 4 chords.
Yeah.
Isn't
that the case though? You get a band like that, and I like Oasis a lot. I've always, and I can't say I always have. In fact, in the beginning, I hated them. I thought they were just cheesy ripoffs of every other band that I actually liked. Right. And then my brother and my cousin just beat them into me, and I started to really actually like them. But you get a band like that, or certain bands seem to just make an entire career out of using this 4 chords. And then there's bands that do a lot more exploration and grow a lot, and they don't seem to get this same success as a band that just, hey, this is our thing, and we're going to go with that for 6 or 8 albums.
Yeah, and I think if you hit on what what people would call a winning formula, you think, well, then why would you change anything? So, and I suppose there's obviously going to be an element of luck at the beginning on hitting on that winning formula, but but yes, I think we did make a lot of. We tried to make progress, and also I think the albums that came, the final 2, Live a Little and Highball Me, we were recording in a really lo-fi, again, when we could afford to go in and work with our friend Brian in his little studio in East London. And again, he was doing us massive favors. We had no money by the end, and we weren't making any money. Christ almighty, we never made a penny out of the band. I can honestly say that. Wow. That was, we just barely financially kept ourselves afloat, and we were mostly, like I say, we were mostly in debt and slightly beholden to people's for goodwill and favors. But I mean, the plan was never to make money in the first place. So it was, if you're talking about people that we were students at the start, buskers, music fans, there wasn't a grand plan to become the next U2 or anything like that. So I mean, not that many bands. Well, I mean, maybe there are bands that set out with a kind of a, this time in 5 years, we'll be playing like ice hockey stadia or
conquer the world.
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose it was. I mean, I told this story a couple of weeks ago. We were chatting to someone. I think you always need, if you want to achieve that, you do need to have someone, at least one ambitious person in the band, somebody that's kind of driven, even if you've got a 4 or 5 piece group, but one of them is determined to get there, to make it. They'll be able to drag the others with them.
Yeah.
It's usually the singer or the songwriter, or it's usually 2 people that will drag the rest of them there.
Right.
We never had that person in the band, unfortunately. We never had anybody that's kind of, come on guys, we need to work harder. We need to, we're not rehearsing enough. That show was shit. This one needs to be better. There was never any kind of autopsy after a bad gig. It was just, you shrug your shoulders and think, maybe we shouldn't have had so much to drink. or maybe we should have rehearsed.
Yeah.
So, we'd book rehearsal studios and then spend a lot of time sitting around drinking tea and then thinking, let's go for lunch.
Yeah.
So there was this, there was no, we weren't driven. There was no drive. And so the story, I told this story the other day that we did an interview with the Face magazine, and this was, early on, before the first, I think we were only 2 EPs into our career. And Jeremy, the original bass player, he just left, and because he was just going to pursue his art.
Okay.
He's a painter. And Damien, the drummer, the first drummer, and there was just the 3 of us. We hadn't started auditioning for a bass player yet, although Lincoln was pretty soon to join. So we had a photo session booked for the Face. It was on a Sunday. And the Face magazine, they flew this fashion photographer over and put him in a photographic studio in Farringdon in the centre of London, and with a makeup artist and lighting and everything. And
wow.
Yeah. And it was, we were meant to turn up on the Sunday afternoon into the evening to do this photo session. Well, I actually didn't really want to go, but I thought it's okay. The other 2 will go. Now you can imagine how the story ends.
Yes.
None of us turned up because they all thought the other 2 would go. And that includes the lead singer of the band.
Oh my God.
The fact that Russell thought that the lead singer of a band it's okay for that person not to turn up for a magazine photo shoot. I think that's my go-to Moose anecdote for why didn't Moose ever get anywhere, because it was I mean, obviously there are loads of other reasons, but you do need people that will turn up for those things. Even if only Russell had turned up, and you only had the singer, that's fine. I've seen photo sessions with just the lead singer of the band.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And believe me and Damien would not have been in the least bit put out or bothered by the fact that we weren't in the photos, right. Obviously. But yeah, and I think I remember it caused a real argument, a real furore at the time, because the record company were on the phone on the Monday morning going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I've got some really irate fashion photographer who's, flying back to Paris today, and he's livid. And, you've just, he's getting paid and everything, but he's fucking furious.
Yeah.
And Hut Records were fucking furious.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah. So in a weird way, the writing was on the wall. Yeah. Then. Yeah. That famous wall that's got writing and shit on it.
Everything just sliding off that wall.
Yeah.
Now, there was a 5-year gap between Live a Little, Love a Lot and Highball Me. Were you guys, and in general, did you tour a lot in the UK, or what was going on?
At that point, I think around 96 into 97. Sorry, 97. We recorded that album, but it just sat there for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
So we stopped gigging in 96.
Oh.
We did a couple of gigs in France, in '96, I think 3 or 4, and we came back, and honestly, I think, there was just me and Russell and whoever we could drag in. And Mig was still involved on. We had a different bass player and a different guitarist. And it was great. I mean, they were actually maybe some of the best gigs that we ever did. And they were they were good because not because of me and Russell, but because of the guys that we got in, who they both used to be in a band called Eat. They were kind of around in the late 80s. They were going to be the next big thing. They honestly, and I saw them a lot around 87, 88.
Okay.
They were phenomenal live band. They did a fantastic version of Summer in the City.
Oh, cool.
They were brilliant. They were so good, so tight, so well rehearsed. There's some great songs and charismatic frontman. Honestly, I don't know how they blew it. But I don't know. They blew it. But
wow.
They should have been huge.
They slid down the enormous.
Wall. Yes, unfortunately. But a couple of guys that were in that band, the bass player and one of the guitarists, Mig, our drummer, was friends with them. And we were offered these gigs in France. We didn't have a full band. So they came in and rehearsed with us at really, really short notice.
Oh, wow.
Like we're going to France next week. We've got 3 or 4 days to rehearse. Wow. But the thing is, these guys are really excellent musicians. They're the kind of people that, like, you play them the CD, they'll sit there, okay, got this, and they move on.
Wow.
And yeah, honestly, Tim was the bass player and Max was the guitarist. And we went into the rehearsal room, and for the first time, we were going to use our friend Natalie on violin live.
Ooh,
so we were going to go. It was the first time, and so we were in this rehearsal room, and it wasn't going very well. and Tim just said, "Listen, this is just all wrong." And he just said, right, you, and he pointed to me and said, you turn your guitar up loud, turn it up now. And it was like, okay. So, and he said, right, okay, right now, again, and he just directed it. He said, right, again, do the song again. And we go, oh, we've played it again. We do it one more time. He was just, he was brilliant. He just cracked the whip, basically, because we were in let's go and have a cup of coffee and a cake mode, and it'll be all right on the night. Right. It'll be fine. And Tim and Max, they just knew that it was going to be nowhere near all right on the night, that we were so far away. We were so fit, like an out of shape boxer, that hasn't been in the ring for a few years and has put on about 15 kilos and thinks that it's okay. I'll rely on muscle memory. Yeah,
exactly. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back to me. And it wasn't coming back, and it sounded awful. And Tim, honestly, it was as if he'd like grabbed us by the shirt and said, oh, come on, and just get on with it. Yeah. I mean, in the nicest possible way. He was a really sweet guy. And he really got us into shape.
Wow.
It's kind of person you meet where you think, I wonder if this guy had been in the band for the last 6 years, whether we would be playing a fucking ice hockey stadium.
Yeah.
Because we actually never had anybody like that. We had lovely people,
right?
But nobody that was ever that kind of professional.
Yeah, not a real leader.
Yeah. I think we always took the soft option, and if the soft option was to rehearse for an hour and then say, "Oh, can we be bothered? Should we go home?" It was, let's go home. Everything sounds okay. Everything, but just the idea that okay is just not good enough.
Yeah,
and I know that now. Bloody hell! I'm saying that. I knew it then. I don't know what I'm saying. I know that. I knew it then, but when you've got that kind of the lazy gene.
I know it,
and it's in the band,
I know,
and there's almost nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it, and I know it now. Comparing it with being in Piroshka, where it's utterly different,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, did we rehearse?
So, there's a huge gap between Moose's last album and Piroshka. I know you and Mickey started a family, but what else was going on in there? Did you take a whole different career route?
Yeah, I think what happened was the biggest. I mean, you might have discussed this with Mickey before, but when Chris died in '96, Mickey, the last thing she wanted to do was music.
Yeah,
and it kind of coincided with. I think we were just finishing off Highball Me around that time. Maybe there was another few months before that finished. And I think for about 2 years, me and Mickey kind of did nothing. I mean, literally nothing.
Yeah.
We went on holiday a few times. We went to the pub. We watched films. We read books. We just chilled out. And she had no interest whatsoever in doing anything else.
Understandably.
Yeah. I mean, she was absolutely, shaken to the core. I mean, everybody was. I mean, it was. We're coming up to it'll be the 25th anniversary in the autumn, and you think it still staggers me that it happened. It actually happened because he was a really good friend of Russell's, and we used to go to football matches together, and he was a big Tottenham Hotspur fan, and so we'd go and see Spurs with him. Simon Raymond as well. We'd sometimes go to the same football matches. And so Chris was more, it wasn't just the fact that he was in a band. He went to the same college as I went to, as Mickey went to.
Yeah.
It was a real shocker. And I think Mickey was out at that point. It was kind of like, right, that's me out. And Emma had started her new band anyway, Sing Sing.
Right.
So she was up and running with something new. And then, I trained as a language teacher. Mickey got into publishing, so we just had new jobs. I hardly listened to music, any new music, that is,
right.
between about 2000 and 2008 or 9. I barely bought any CDs. No one was buying vinyl then.
Right.
I think I must have gone to an average of 1 or 2 gigs a year.
Wow.
I was out. So when people talk about, oh, do you remember blah blah blah, I go, I know the name because I remember reading about them, but I was listening to a lot of classical music, a lot of jazz, old stuff. I just wasn't into new music. I thought that's me. I'm done with that now. The gigs that I went to were jazz gigs, basically, at the Jazz Cafe. I had a lot of friends and one friend in particular was really into jazz, and he would always sort of like recommend stuff, and we'd go together. Russell had started he started it quite a few years earlier. His kind of radio and TV. He has a radio and TV plugging company.
Oh, okay.
That he does with Mig the drummer, their friend Marty and Russell. So they stayed in the music industry, but not making music at all, just representing people. So they're cool. They've got this plugin company. They do really cool stuff. They do Sub Pop and they do Warp Records, and they only do things they like. They don't have to do anything for money. They just say, that this is a cool band, we'll do it. People will come up to them and say, will you work for this band? And they'll go, no, if we're not into the music or the label, we're not doing it.
Oh, that's
so they
awesome.
do. It is awesome because they do Bella Union, they do Sub Pop and, like I say, Warp and all those really cool labels, and they're kind of the go-to guys for if you want your alternative music on the radio or on television.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and Mig works really, really hard on that. Russell's no longer based in the UK, so he lives in Portugal. He moved to Portugal a few years ago. I think he wanted to get out pre-Brexit while he still could.
He's still looking for Mr. Breeders.
Yes. Yeah, maybe a song in Portuguese. He's been learning Portuguese actually. But so yeah, there was a massive gap. And then around the sort of 2010, I started, buying music again and going to more gigs. And I started hanging out with people that were kind of like, come on, let's go come and see this band. They're brilliant. So I started going to shows again. And then Lush reformed, and that's when the ball started rolling again, because the kids were still quite young, and Mickey knew that she'd have to rehearse, right. Professional, and boy did they do that, because the thing is that Justin is one of those guys that is like, listen, we do this until we get it right.
Right.
If we have to play the song 100 times, we'll play it 100 times. We have to be able to go on stage and do this without ever having to start counting things in our head. Oh God, is that the 16th bar already? You don't have to think about these things. It should just be pure instinct and muscle memory. And so Justin really, really pushed the rehearsals, and Mickey was the same. She doesn't want to go on stage and make a fool of herself. So but the Lush shows were excellent, because
I wish I could have seen that tour. I saw Lush one time in '92 when they at Lollapalooza in Pennsylvania. It was amazing because I knew the name of the band. I'd heard them, but I'd heard of them, but I'd never listened to the music. And Lush came on, and I was just like, this is amazing. I love this sound. And after, it was Lush and then Pearl Jam, Jesus and Mary Chain. I got to
Soundgarden.
Yes, Soundgarden, Ministry, Ice Cube, and I think
and the Chili Peppers.
And the Chili Peppers. And I've never been a fan of the Chili Peppers, to be honest.
No, neither have I.
We got there, watched every band. The Chili Peppers came on. They came on half naked and with like light bulbs on their heads or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 of us there. Me and my buddy Ed. We looked at each other and like, I'm done.
And you got to do the right thing. You've got to let your buddies see the show, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to if you want to see that band, you go ahead. I'm going to do something else. We'll just catch up afterwards.
I went over to America in '96 on the last tour that Lush did before Chris died. And I saw them about 5 or 6 times and on that tour, and they were really excellent. They were so on it. They were so tight.
Yeah.
They've done years of touring, and that year alone, they've done dozens of shows.
Wow.
Which is honestly didn't contribute to Chris's mental health at all. Yeah. But they just sounded astounding. I'd liked Lush. I'd always been a fan, but I was never blown away by them. They were my friends. They were in a band. They did lovely things for us.
Yeah.
But I actually stood there one night thinking, fucking hell, when did they get this good? And I just because honestly, they were so dynamic, and the sound was brilliant. They've always had an excellent sound engineer, Pete, who does their sound, and they were absolutely on it.
Yeah.
They were really, really good. So I knew that when Chris died in '96 and Lush just disappeared, I knew that they'd gone out on a high, like in terms of like their performance levels in what they could actually do in front of a live crowd. And Mickey was adamant that she didn't want to come back. She thought they wouldn't be able to achieve what they had done, but she wanted to get close.
Well, yeah, and you got to think that the fans are used to that. They're expecting that level when you come back. No matter, they don't understand. Maybe they do, but they're not. They won't excuse a gap. They're thinking, you're coming back. You better come back to the same level that you left at.
Yeah, and there'll be people that obviously didn't even see them at all in the 90s that are a bit younger, and they might have heard nice things and seen stuff on YouTube, and so I think the expectation was quite high.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, the fact that when they announced the tour, they sold out 2 nights at the Roundhouse in London. Like, it was like pretty insane. Yeah. They'd never played gigs that big in the first incarnation. They just hadn't, and so it was well, actually, no, actually, because I was there with the kids.
Oh wow!
And they absolutely fucking kicked ass.
That must have been
an American expression. It was they honestly, they were like, I was like, oh my God.
That must have been amazing to see Mickey up there and you guys watching it with the kids. That must have been incredible.
It was really, really good, because they'd done a little warm-up show at a place called the Oslo. It's a club that holds maybe 350 people, like low-level stage. And it was kind of, I think it might have been maybe fan club kind of tickets available, if I'm not mistaken. And that was excellent. I mean, honestly, I just thought, wow, they really are. But when you see them on a big stage, the lighting design was better than anything they'd ever had before. Oh. I mean, they really came back better. And one of the reasons was Justin. Justin was determined, like, that he was going to go up on stage and actually, do Chris proud and do the band proud, because he was Chris's friend from back in the day. And they were absolutely awesome. And I think, when Piroshka formed, Justin and Mickey wanted to make sure that we went on stage and that we were just as okay. We're playing tiny venues. Yeah, there's not 2 nights at the Roundhouse, unfortunately. But there were no fuck ups. That we were tight, rehearsed, and of course Mick, the bass player, who's been touring constantly with Modern English anyway. Yeah, he's a sensational musician.
And you've known these guys forever.
Mick, actually, this is like a loop. Mick goes right back to the beginning of Moose, when Jeremy left the band. We did a tour. I think it was the tour with the Cranberries, actually, where Mick played the bass.
Okay.
Yes, it was that. That was was that the Cranberries tour, the one before? But Jeremy had left during the recording of the second. Yeah, it was the second EP. So Mick learned all the bass lines and came on tour with us. And it was fun, because I'd missed a bunch of gigs, because I have a son from a previous relationship. Okay. Who's actually, he turned 30 last week. He's coming up tomorrow. We're going to celebrate his birthday. But it's our daughter. It's Stella's birthday next Saturday. It was Joe's birthday last Saturday. So tomorrow we're having a family meal. It's going to be lovely. Oh, it's the first time we've all been together since lockdown for a year. Wow. I haven't seen Joe, because he hasn't been. He lives in Brighton with his girlfriend, and he works in Brighton, so he hasn't been able to come up to London because of various lockdown things.
Oh my gosh! Well, happy birthday!
So, I'll tell him. But yeah, so
some weird dude in America said happy birthday.
Happy birthday to both of you. So
he just broke his toilet. He's just a weird guy.
So I couldn't do some gigs because Joe was about to be born, so I wanted to be there. Yeah. And so Tim Gain from Stereolab, he learned all the Moose songs.
Oh wow!
And he went off, and he was me, and then it was really weird, because we then had a gig in Paris. That's right. This is how Mick joined the band. Sorry if I'm rambling.
No,
we had our first ever gig in Paris, and we were playing at a really nice club, and we decided that we would do it with. I'd come back to the band, but we'd keep Tim. So we'd have 3 guitars.
Wow.
But the thing is, Jeremy had left, and we needed a bass player. So Mick Conroy, he had all the songs written on like F, G, C, chorus, C, blah, 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 and he had all the things written down like on big sheets of paper. Oh. He was learning them on the tour bus driving to Paris.
Oh my gosh!
Then, because he's such a great musician, and then we did a sound check, and then he was in the dressing room for hours, just with his bass, just going over and over the songs again and again and again, and then we went out and did a gig it was the first time we'd ever done a gig as a 5-piece, and it kind of stuck because after Tim left, we got another guitarist in and continued to play as a 5-piece. But so that's a long answer to say yes. Known Mick for many years, but Mick kind of grew up in Suffolk and Essex, Colchester, which is where Russell's from. So he had known Russell for like a decade before or more. Before I met Russell, they'd known each other since like punk days.
Oh, I mean, man.
Yeah, they've known each other for a long, long time. So yeah, there's some strong friendships there.
Did Moose ever tour the States?
We did one tour in '94 when Honeybee had just come out. We played with the Cocteau Twins we played in Atlanta, 2 nights in Atlanta. They were our first ever US gigs.
Oh wow.
And I still remember them. I remember that tour like it was yesterday, because it was maybe one of the loveliest things about being in Moose was to go on tour with your favorite band, and my favorite contemporary band at the time. That was brilliant. We did 2 nights in Atlanta, then we went up and we played in Washington and New York, and we did I can't remember, Philadelphia. We did about 6 or 7 gigs, and we did one. The Cocteau Twins had a night off, and we did one gig of our own in Danbury, Connecticut.
Oh wow,
Danbury, yes. We played with a band called the Werefrogs. They're a US band.
I'm not familiar with them.
Okay, no, I think they were around in the late '80s, early '90s. But I think they organised the gig. It was a building that was adjoining Danbury Airport, some little airstrip.
Oh, wow!
Anyway, it was really good fun. Actually, it's on YouTube. Russell sent me a link. Russell sent me a link of Moose live in Danbury.
Oh my god!
All you can hear is guitar.
I've got to find that. It's not the
greatest recording, but no. Russell sent me a link. Yeah, and that was a really lovely tour. So that was our only time in the States, but it was great because we got to play some massive places, really big theaters, to great crowds.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the Cocteau Twins were just wonderful to us. They knew that we had no money. They absolutely knew that we could barely scrabble the money together to pay for the flights. We did it on a real budget. We got a little mini bus, like a 10-seater people wagon or whatever you call them. And all our gear went in the Cocteau Twins. They took our gear around for us.
Oh, wow.
And this is how lovely they were. They actually paid for us to have our own mixing desk.
Wow.
So it was massively convenient for them in the sense that we didn't get to touch their mixing desk.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was great for us because our sound engineer had his own desk every night. We were going through the same PA, and I think we sounded good on that tour. I think that was a kind of a high moment for us. We got really good feedback for that tour, but we never got the chance to go back because that's when we went in to record the next album with Play It Again Sam, and that's when things started to take a lot longer, and it was wasn't a great phase in the band's career, but it was lovely. I loved Atlanta. We were there for 4 days.
Yeah, I love Atlanta.
God Almighty! I think at the time let me get this right now. There was a lot of development going on because the Olympics were coming up in '96.
Right.
We were there in '94, and there was lots of things were happening in the city. But you could tell that Olympics or no Olympics, lots of things were happening in the city anyway. It just seemed like a great place to be.
That time, and I haven't been there in 15 years now, but I was there in the late 90s, early 2000s. I moved from New Jersey to Alabama, and I wasn't too far away from Atlanta, a few hours. So every once in a while, my brother was up at the University of Alabama, and we would go. It was like Atlanta was like a 3-hour drive from where I was at. It was like an hour and a half or 2 hours from where my brother was at. So we'd go hang up in Tuscaloosa, go see some college bands play, shoot over to Atlanta, apparently see Oasis at some point that I don't remember. And, but it was really vibrant. You can definitely feel it was growing and there's something happening there.
Definitely. And I know that it's, what's the expression, a big college town as well. So, a big student community.
Oh yeah. Georgia Tech's there, a couple other colleges. So yeah.
So you got that real good vibe. We met some really excellent people as well. I remember we went clubbing one night with this group of people. It was, and I got to see,
if you say Oasis,
Jeff Buckley.
Oh, wow.
Before he came to the gig, because I think he had a brief-ish relationship with Liz Fraser from the Cocteau Twins. They were a couple briefly, and he came to the gigs in Atlanta. And afterwards, after the first night, I think Simon Raymond said, listen, we're all jumping in a couple of cabs. We're going to go and see Tim. He's just, Tim. Did I say Tim?
Yeah.
I said Jeff. I meant Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
I meant Jeff Buckley.
Yep.
Yes. Sorry. We're going to see Jeff Buckley.
Seeing Tim at that point would have been very difficult.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Absolutely. Probably a statue of him somewhere. But there should be. But So he said, we're going to see Jeff Buckley. Let's just come with us. And we went, and it was just in the days when it was just him and a Telecaster and an amp, no band.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. He was fantastic. And I'd only ever heard things about him. I'd never heard him. Everyone was already talking about him and saying, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And my 4 days in Atlanta were fucking brilliant.
That's awesome.
It was such a great, it was the kind of city that you go to and you think, wow, if I ever had to live in America, I think I could live here.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people say that about a lot of places, but
yeah. And my only issue is that it's so hot in the summer. Oh my gosh.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. All right. Piroshka.
Yeah.
So how did this whole thing come about? Because I've seen some photos of Mickey, and she's very adamant that it's not a fucking supergroup.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
So how did everything coalesce?
It happened because, again, from Mickey, you probably heard that the Lush thing didn't end well. It ended quite badly. But we were coming back on the train from their last ever gig, and Mick Conroy had done what he always does. He stepped in for the last gig and played for the Manchester show, which had been rescheduled. So he learned all the Lush bass lines. Yeah, I know. He's a pretty phenomenal musician.
That's amazing.
Some of them actually. I'm looking out into the garden, into Ivan's drum room. I've actually got a video clip of Ivan drumming along to the Lush CD.
Wow.
Mick playing bass and Ivan drumming. I've got a video clip somewhere.
That's awesome.
So Mick was really on it.
Man.
So he did an amazing gig, and then they knew it was all over. So we were on the train coming back, and me and Mickey had been talking about the I can't remember where it started. I can't remember whether it was Justin that might have been the first one to say, listen, this is crazy. There's so much momentum. It would be mad not to do so, either find a way of continuing this, but there was never going to be Lush without Emma.
Right.
So Mickey wouldn't even dream of it. For her, it's her and Emma. And so I think I said I'd definitely be, if Mick was into it and everyone's into it, I'd definitely be on board. We got the train back from Manchester to London. I think we were at Euston Station, and I said to Mick, I think the conversation started on the train, and he said, as we were walking on the platform, like, so are we going to do this? And everyone was like, yep, okay, this is a thing now.
Wow.
So Justin started recording some basic demos, just some music, a little bit of, some drum patterns and some noise and some guitar riffs, and Mickey had started writing some stuff. I wasn't in the writing mode at all. I just sort of see where this one's going to go. And I thought, I'll just play guitar here. I'm not really, I probably won't get involved in any composition. I'll just get involved in playing. Because it could be that if they want to get a band up and running, they just want to start gigging, then that can happen quite soon. So Mickey and Justin had some demos of some ideas, very sketchy. And after the Christmas, I think it was end of January, beginning of February, we decided to actually just go into a rehearsal room and jam around a little bit. So we went up to Suffolk, where Mick lives. He works and he's got a studio in this art space on an old airport. It was an old American military base from the Second World War, and now it's just used as they use the runway as like test driving cars, and all the outbuildings and all the old airport buildings have been turned into artist studios and recording studios. It's a really amazing space, actually.
So it looks like the old Top Gear track.
Like that. It's exactly the kind of thing that gets done there is testing cars.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And obviously, like a disused, I don't think it's used as an airstrip at all anymore. But so we had a big bit of space to use. We just set our gear up and we just jammed around. And a couple of songs came together quite quickly. And I kind of thought, oh, okay, we need to come back here tomorrow, do a few more hours. And I think Justin recorded some of the sessions. I mean, they're very primitive, very basic. At one point, I'm playing a synthesizer. I'm not even playing guitar, and I don't play keyboards very well. So there was some crazy psychedelic stuff going on, but it sounded good. And we thought, okay, we can actually do this. So then we started doing some serious demos, and then there was we did a lot of rehearsals in London. We hired a rehearsal space in West London, and we were in there 7 hours shifts.
Wow.
Just really tightening it up and making sure, because I was the most worried, because I was the one that quite literally hadn't picked up a guitar apart from to move it out of the way. But for like a long time, my fingers had all gone soft. I hadn't forgotten how to play the guitar, but I was back to being a busker.
Yeah.
Kind of, well, if you want G, D, E, I can do that for you, just about. So I had to, and I knew that they were up and running.
Yeah.
They were in Top Gear.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and I was on a fucking skateboard, and I had to work like Billy-O. I had to work like crazy to, I suppose, a bit like when when I had to learn the guitar in the first place to go back to busking when my Australian friend went home. And so I just thought, no, I don't, if I go on stage, I don't want to be the weakest link here. I don't want to be the one that fucks up, that doesn't remember when the chorus becomes the middle eight,
right,
who plays the wrong chord completely, who forgets to press this pedal. I need to be as good as them. So I just worked and worked and worked and worked to make sure that when we went into the studio to record the first album, that I could play all my parts without fucking up. And if we had to do a gig, and eventually we did, if you heard a mistake, it wasn't me.
Right.
And trust me, it wasn't. Honestly, I really didn't want to make a fool of myself in the way that Mickey didn't want to make a fool of herself when Lush came back. So
that first album was so good. What I liked about it, first of all, it starts off with this huge blast of feedback, which I thought that's my style. I love that. Yeah. I love noise. but it doesn't sound like any of the bands you guys came from. It's definitely got its own sound. So was that intentional, or is that just the way you guys played together?
I think that's how we played together. I think you've heard the second album, which is definitely more like some of the things that we did earlier on in our career.
Yeah.
And that was a conscious decision too.
Okay.
But I think it was, we'd written all these songs. Some of them are very different. Some of them are like, what on earth is this song doing in this album? But we'd written, I think, 12 or 13 songs, and we just thought we'd record them all, and then the best 10 we'd put on an album. And so it was, by then I'd started writing, so I was able to contribute 2 or 3 songs to the album.
Oh, nice.
So in my initial stab, I remember I wrote a song, and Mickey said, "I think you need to work on that a little bit more." And I went, "Okay." harsh but fair.
Yeah.
And no, but it was fine. I'm not bothered by things like that. I'm not proud. So I just thought, no, you're right. I don't want to start foisting songs when I need to really spend a bit more time.
Again,
so
you don't want to be the weakest link.
Yeah. I don't want people to say, I like all the songs apart from the 3 that Moose wrote. Right. They're shit.
This has been a great EP.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I just sat down and just got to work, really. And it helped that the kids were a tiny bit older and a bit more self-reliant.
Yeah.
And, I had a bit more time. And I only teach part-time anyway, which helps. I don't like working full-time. I can survive on part-time. I can survive on part-time hours. And so it enabled me to sort of start writing again and practicing. And so I felt by the time we went on tour, I was fine. I was excited, and I made a real conscious decision as much as you can to try and enjoy the moment. There was a lot of nostalgia involved. It kind of like, as I was going through the process of remembering like what it's like to rehearse, what it's like to go on tour, and thinking that was a long time ago. And did I really enjoy it as much? Could I have got more out of it? Sometimes, in some situations, yes.
Yeah.
I think mostly I had a really good time being in Moose, and I just thought we're not going to do many gigs as Piroshka. We're a small band. We're not going to get offered very much. I just want to make sure that I have a good time while I'm doing it, and just be aware. Like when you're standing on stage, just think, I'm doing this. This is real. This is happening now. I've got Mickey, I've got my mates. Yeah. This is, and I think I really did try to make that happen, and it was such good fun. Honestly,
trying to just making sure you absorb it all and just enjoy it. And like you said, not like you didn't enjoy Moose, but it's not difficult to kind of find a way back to the enjoyment of what you do. Yeah. It's sometimes you just forget how to enjoy it. And, I don't know why that is, but I mean, it's funny. At the end of Moose, I was for maybe a good year or so after it all petered out, I was in constant contact with Russell, and I was prodding and poking in a kind of come on, we could do this again. We can record another album. Yeah, we
can do some gigs. And I think he said to me, I can't remember if he said it directly or whether it came from somebody else, but I think he said that he's had his time. It's let some younger people have a go now. It's not, I think he's one of these people that thinks, you had your fun in your 20s. There's always going to be a bunch of 20-somethings coming along.
Yeah,
for sure. I think he was quite surprised actually that I started doing Piroshka. There was a kind of it didn't really come from anything he said directly, but there was a sense of, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I got a sense of that. In the nicest possible way. I mean, he's one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. But I think he was probably thinking, but you're an old man.
Yeah. At your age.
Yeah. Have some dignity.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I did kind of I did hanker after Moose continuing for a little bit longer, but it just didn't happen. But like I say, this the first album with Piroshka, it was all of our best ideas. You know, if we'd really thought about it too much, we wouldn't have made the record. I think Justin and Mickey was coming like, look, come on, we're a new band. You know, if we were a bunch of 19-year-olds and we'd written 12 or 13 songs, we'd go in the studio and record the best songs and we'd put it out there. Yeah. Just because we've done all this before several times doesn't mean you can't do that again. And so it doesn't sound, some songs have hints of what has come before, but you know, I think the new record is a bit different. You know, I think
it is. It's a little softer. There's not as much noise going on. In fact, from the Knife Thrower's Daughter and the transition into Scratching at the Lid, that's my favorite part of the whole album. Going from that from one track to the other, that's really cool.
I'm glad because it was actually, I wrote that with that in mind.
Oh, awesome.
I wrote it as a kind of it was, they weren't sort of glued together. It was meant to happen that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was a nice way to start, you know, it's a gentle start.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So did you guys start this before the lockdown happened, or was this all done afterwards?
No, we were, I think, quite lucky in many respects. We finished recording, or 99% of the recording was, I think we had one keyboard part to do and a cello or something. Yeah, cello part. But it was all done the week of lockdown. We were going to go in for one more day, and then we got a phone call saying the studio's closed. Well, it's gone into lockdown.
Oh, wow.
So everything was recorded. And so we thought, well, shit, when are we going to get this mixed? And so we had to wait months until towards the end of the summer, when Iggy, the guy that we work with in the studio, he was able to go in and he started mixing and sending us mixes.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was great. And then it meant that by the early autumn, the album was ready and we were kind of good to go. The problem was fitting it into the schedule, because we were hoping to get it out, well, March, April. But the problem is Simon has told us that there's a lot of problems now with pressing and getting vinyl pressed. Yeah. There are very few pressing plants left in Europe, and they'd had some problems last year where they had to delay the release of certain albums because things weren't all in sync. You know, the vinyl wasn't ready when the CD was, and blah blah blah, and the artwork. So they said, we will guarantee that everything will be ready for July. There'll be no hitches, there'll be no delays. So let's just say middle of July, album comes out, and it will come out in the middle of July. There won't be any kind of, it's not going to be till August. We can guarantee it. We thought, let's not take any risks and try and push for a time where it might end up being delayed. So there was a period of writing and recording before Christmas. Hang on, let me get this right. Christmas 2019. Then after the Christmas break, we went in, did some more writing and recording. So we started it before, at the end of 2019, and we just made a conscious decision that we wanted it less brutal, less less drums, and just wanted it a bit more. Wanted to hear the harmonies and the subtleties a bit more. Right. And Mickey had written 2 or 3 songs that wouldn't have been out of place on a Lush album, to be fair, but we just wanted to maybe, I don't know, get some different sounds involved. It's quite mellow. There's some very, very pretty things, I would admit. Yeah. Some lovely harmonies. I mean, Mickey, there's one thing that she's got that not a lot of other people have. It's the ability to come up with really unusual harmony lines.
Very true.
You know, sometimes it's almost like an English folk song from the 1600s or something.
I didn't think of that. Like, one of my favorite Lush songs is "Out of Control," and it's that I absolutely see what you're saying with that.
Yeah, it's not that she particularly listens to a lot of folk music. I mean, I listen to more, but she's got that. She's always looking for something a little bit different, like trying to steer away from the obvious. And I think on the first album as well, there's lots of lovely harmonies, but this one in particular, I think she's really, really nailed it.
Yeah.
We're going to be announcing some dates, so fingers crossed, that we'll be able to do them in the autumn.
That would be wonderful.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long time coming, but so many venues we've noticed, so many gigs, so many venues booked up around October, November, December. People have been putting off their shows and their tours. Yeah. And I've even seen people saying, we can't do November now because everybody's playing in November.
Wow.
I mean, I think on pretty much every city in the UK for that November in particular is going to be packed out with gigs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tough, but awesome.
Tough, yeah. It could mean that no one will come and see us, or it could mean that people will come and see us that would never even have bothered before because they just want to go to a fucking gig.
Yeah, that's true.
Want to go to a show. So there might be some positives to that. But
you mentioned when we first started chatting this morning the possibility of a Moose box set.
Yeah. So the box set is that they've already started the process of trying to recover tapes from previous record companies.
Yeah,
I think Simon's put someone onto it in legal terms. So someone like checking out the contract and the contracts and what it would mean in terms of the legality of everything.
Right.
But yeah, I think the plan is we did have 4 studio albums. We've got the Sonny and Sam, which is, a compilation of the first 3 EPs.
Yeah.
There are various B-sides. I don't think we'll go down the road of Peel sessions and things like that because I think it's just going to be a bit too much to organize. But we did things like there's a lot of B-sides to singles, and we for the first couple of albums we gave away a free 7-inch of cover versions.
Wow.
We did 2 cover versions on a free 7-inch, like limited edition for XYZ, and then the same for Honeybee. So we'd like to include those tracks because they were really, really good fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like a Bobby Gentry song. We had Russell's girlfriend at the time, Roxanne, she sang the vocals on that. We did Early Morning Rain. We did some country. Yeah, we did some really nice cover. We did Kidney Bingos, which is a Wire song.
Oh, cool.
And which we liked. We did a Color Box song. We did lots of nice little cover versions that we gave away for nothing. So wow. I think we'd probably be looking at maybe it'd be on vinyl. It'll probably be a 6-album box set with all the singles and the B-sides and the freebies, if we can get that together. So Simon said he's happy to put everything on there. Wow. Everything that we want. He said, if we're going to do it properly, once and for all, nice artwork, sleeve notes, photos, blah, blah, blah. Make it something that somebody would want to own rather than something that's not, something that's cobbled together and, so it's
the rarities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got everything on there, like I say, maybe apart from the Peel sessions.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like it draws a line under everything. and then we can peacefully go to our graves, satisfied in the knowledge that we've left something behind.
And I can finally get all the Moose stuff.
Yes, of course. Yes.
That would be great if I could finally get everything.
Yeah. Initially, this was the inspiration. Simon was saying that he finds it really odd that there's only a couple of our albums available on Spotify. You can't even find half of our stuff on Spotify. I don't know why that is. I don't know why. I know that it was that Russell had the conversation with Le Grand Magistri, the American label that put the album out. Surely they must be able to put it up on. It'd be in their interest to put it up on Spotify. The funny thing is that Russell, as I say, has been the least interested in doing any of this.
Wow.
He's like, listen, we did it once, it was fine. If people can't get it, then they can't get it.
Oh wow! Come on, Russell. What about me?
I don't think he means it in a kind of it means that we'll be some weird obscure cult band. I think he just thinks that that's just how the way things are.
Yeah.
It's just how things are. And sorry, I'm rambling a bit. It's how things are. It's the way things are, and we shouldn't lose any sleep over it.
Right.
But I think it'll be nice to have it out there.
I'm excited about it. When you first mentioned it to me a while back, I just got really excited about it. So to hear that the wheels are turning, it's fantastic.
It's going to be a slow process, I think, and it won't. Obviously it's not going to have to see the light of day maybe till the end of next year, but because I think it'll take that long to get something like that organized. Oh yeah,
you still got to find a bunch of the material.
God, yeah, because it would be nice if it's remastered and properly done. You don't want to have recordings that come from CDs or something horrid like that.
Right.
It'd be nice if we got the original tapes from somewhere.
Exactly.
Even the original 2-inch tape that it went onto, where the records were cut from originally. They must be somewhere.
Yeah,
they must exist somewhere. My great fear is that these things end up thrown into like skips and then end up in landfill. But we'll find out.
Yeah, one way or another. Where can people follow Piroshka and when? You said the album is scheduled to come out in July. How can people find it, and when can they start ordering it?
Okay, well, we've done a video for Scratching at the Lid. We're making a video for every single song.
Oh, wow.
We've decided that Justin knows this young filmmaker from Brighton. We've told him we've got little or no money. He says, I don't care. He's a young guy. He's experimental. He said he's had the album for a few months, 6 months now. And he said, I've got ideas for every song. I will make you a short film to accompany every track.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is really, really nice.
Oh, the exuberance of youth.
I know. And not performance either. We don't like performance videos, so there'll be like a narrative. So the band won't appear in any of the videos.
Oh, wow.
So there's going to be no performance element. It'll just be his little weird stories and ideas.
Oh, that's awesome, though.
Yeah, I think it's really. And he said that there's a narrative that should run through it. That it will tell a story. So
awesome.
I imagine that there'll be a track for radio. It's sad that we don't release singles anymore. That you can't buy a 7-inch vinyl or even a CD single.
Oh, no.
Anything. The fact that it just goes to radio as a track for radio, they play it on the radio if they choose to, and then because you say goodbye to everything we've been talking about, all the B-sides and the extra tracks that you never get to record anymore,
and the special artwork that goes with it, special covers and I miss that. I miss all
absolutely. Colored vinyl, all that kind of thing.
Limited edition releases. It's just the searching for stuff is what I miss too. Trying to hunt the stuff down. Yeah. We just we had all our vinyl in the drum room, actually, in Ivan's music room. We put it down there in a kind of we'll put the turntable, all the vinyl in there. When he's not playing his drums, I can go in, play LPs, just vinyl, really, really loud. No one will notice. But the funny thing is that we just didn't.
we just, we're in the house, we put on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, or the radio. And but recently we've just we decided that I want to hear vinyl.
Yeah.
And so we moved everything up. We bought a new turntable. We put the speakers up, and we've got all the vinyl back in the house. And we've just started buying vinyl again. And it's things like buying, like I just mentioned, colored vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
We got, we bought, what did we buy recently? The Jane Weaver album. It's on pink vinyl, and you pull it out, and it's a work of art. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds fantastic as well. But you think, okay, this is what I remember.
Yep.
And so I think I got a few text messages from Simon Raymond this morning, and they've got a Bella Union shop in Brighton where he lives.
Oh, cool.
And so, the shop was able to open.
Oh, excellent.
And so it's been closed in lockdown for months. And he said, just lovely, just nice to be able to have your own little record store, and it's open, and people are coming in and buying vinyl. But
awesome.
So everything's in place. Artwork's all done. The artwork's beautiful. Chris Bigg again did the artwork, so I think we're just kind of awaiting announcement.
Okay,
and that's it.
Where can people get the announcements? Is it social media aspect for the band, or is it Bella Union?
So Bella Union will make an announcement, and then we'll put it up on our because we have Mickey will put it on Twitter, of course.
Yeah.
We have the band Twitter account, her Twitter account. Then we've got Instagram and Facebook. So I imagine we'll just put it all up, probably with a link, I guess, to the first track for radio.
Okay.
See, I don't think we're going to announce the gigs until nearer the time.
Right.
I mean, but fingers crossed that'll be in the autumn. Again, fingers crossed means something different now, doesn't it? I mean, it really does mean fingers fucking crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because and a fourth wave in this country, and then we're shut down again for months. So we've just got to hope.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you've spent so much time with me, and we've gone through so much history. It's been amazing.
Absolute pleasure, honestly. Really, really. Really, honestly, like I say, it's Saturday. I've got nothing better to do. No.
Did your house have lions?